When I first got these wheels, they looked amazing, lightweight and lovely looking carbon, but one of the hubs was hiding a pretty fundamental design flaw, and it failed pretty drastically after just 100 kilometers. Not particularly impressive for a wheel set that cost over $1,000. However, since then I've done around 6,500 kilometers on them, and over time they've become quite possibly my favorite ever Chinese wheel set. So what happened, what changed, and what makes them so good? Plus, what's all this news about a patent dispute? Yeah, my name, as always, is Luke, and welcome back to Trace Velo. So very quickly, at the top of the show here, a couple days back, I put up a poll on YouTube about my moustache because it's had some mixed reactions. And surprisingly, the results came back straight down the middle, 50-50. So give me a second. Right then, there we go. A surprisingly strong look, I think. Gravel cyclist. Now I'm a road cyclist. I can easily switch between the two disciplines now, which is an unexpected bonus of this feature. Anyway, let's continue. Right, so about 2 years ago, these wheels showed up at my house. Here are the headlines. They're 50 millimeters deep with a nice wide rim profile. They've got carbon spokes and they're nice and lightweight. A regular wheel set like this would normally weigh about 1,600 grams. These ones, 1,313 grams. So pretty nice weight saving. I got them out of the box on the bike and I was out of the door, but pretty soon after, I noticed an issue. All right, so I've got a funny little sound emanating from these wheels, but hopefully you might be able to hear it. Have a listen. There's like an intermittent clicking sound. I'm not too sure what it is, so I'll get home and I'll check it out. It might be the ceramic bearings, I'm not too sure. So yeah, I thought the ceramic bearings that Elitewheels were using were the culprit because they don't have the best reputation in the cycle industry. It turned out to be something related, but unlike anything I've seen before or since.
On the front hub, the cup that holds the drive side bearing in place had warped. The bearing should sit snugly in the aluminium here, but hopefully you can see there was quite a significant deformation, meaning the bearing could now rattle around, which led to that clunking sound. Essentially, Elitewheels tried to make the hub as light as they could, but the high tension carbon spokes they use have pulled this area out of round slightly. So to remedy the situation, they updated the design for all these hubs moving forward. You can see the replacement one they sent me has a lot more meat, a lot more aluminium in this area. It's about 5 grams heavier as a result, but absolutely got the job done. They quickly became my daily drivers. I've used them day in, day out, all weathers, all seasons. So 6,500 kilometers later, let's have a quick deep dive on these wheels because some parts are showing a bit of wear, but to be honest, most of it looks and feels pretty much brand new.
So this lovely looking jersey is just 17 quid. It's from today's sponsor, Sirocco, and it's from their new beginner collection. So if you're just getting into cycling, or maybe you want to update some of your old kit on a bit of a budget, definitely worth a look. I think it looks really lovely on. It's got minimal branding, which is nice. It's super comfortable, and the materials and construction are top notch as always. Anti-slip silicone hem around the bottom, 4-thread overlock stitching on all of the seams for added durability, and nice touches like reinforcing on high traffic areas around the rear pockets. They also have bib shorts and tights in the collection. These bib shorts are just 17 quid and the bib tights are only 21. They've ditched the shoulder straps to save a bit on cost, but they stay up really well with this rubbery, grippy material on the inside. And the padding, while basic, is decent. Definitely gets the job done. But Sirocco do all sorts of gear to suit any budget, really. I mean, I've been wearing their stuff for like three years nearly at this point. They're just a great sponsor, and they genuinely do some great stuff. So if you want to check them out, use my link in the description. Save 10% off of everything. And if you do get something via that link, I get a bit of kickback as well, which is pretty cool. Anyway, enough of that, let's get back to it. The carbon rims looked great out of the box, and they still look really nice. I take pretty good care of these wheels, I guess, but yeah, no damage at all. The clear coat that they use is decent and the decals are underneath it, so they still look box fresh basically. Now, I've always run these wheels tubeless and I've tried loads of different tire brands over the years. All of them have worked absolutely fine, and the profile is 28mm on the outer and 21 on the inner, so perfect for the 700 by 28C tires that I tend to run.
The spokes are all bladed carbon, no breakage, no delamination. The carbon hasn't separated from the aluminium heads or nipples in any way, which was a problem on some very early versions of these spokes used by other manufacturers. But zero issues here, and I run these on some pretty rough roads near me. I'm not really precious about these wheels at all, to be honest. And yeah, the spokes are all perfect. Plus they use recessed nipples, which yeah, can make them ever so slightly more aero apparently, and servicing them isn't too bad either. I've got this tool in the box which goes through the holes in the rim to tighten or loosen the spokes.
As we're talking spokes, let's talk tension and wheel balance, as this can be very telling of how well a wheel has been constructed overall, especially after the mileage that I've put them through. So I got the tires deflated and set them up in a truing stand.
Both wheels are still running nice and true, about 1.5mm of lateral movement in the front, less than 1mm on the rear. And in terms of roundness, again, all good, less than 0.5mm of radial runout for both wheels. Now, spoke tension. Using this tool, you can basically measure all the spokes on one side of the wheel, find the average tension, then calculate how much each spoke deviates from that average. Most wheel builders will aim for about 10% variance in spoke tension as a pretty good benchmark, but as these are a more premium wheel set, I've upped that tolerance to 5%, which is a very high standard, basically. You can see a couple of the spokes highlighted in red fell just outside that range, but considering the mileage on these wheels, that's still very impressive if you ask me. In terms of the hubs, both sets are still perfect. No further sign of that initial deformation issue, but what about the bearings? Now, to reduce rolling resistance, Elite Wheels use a hybrid ceramic variety from a manufacturer called S&S. So steel bearing races and ceramic ball bearings. Now, on the front hub, the drive side bearing is still absolutely perfect. The non-drive side here is ever so slightly crunchy. Hopefully you can hear it. Now, I'd definitely still run this for another season. To be honest, the bearing is only just starting to wear, but as I have this thing apart anyway, I may as well replace it. So I have this standard 6803 RS bearing lying around. It's not ceramic, but it'll definitely do the job, so I'll put that one in. On the rear hub, which is normally where the bearings tend to suffer a lot more actually, both of them are still absolutely flawless, which, yeah, did surprise me actually. Now, the ones inside the free hub, yeah, these ones are definitely on the way out, which is a bit of a shame considering the cassette splines on the free hub itself are still in really great nick. In fact, I might try and replace these bearings in here rather than buying a whole new free hub. It should be pretty straightforward. But overall, considering the mileage done on these wheels, I'm really impressed with the state of these bearings.
Especially when you account for the fact that this is a more race-focused wheel set, so it's pretty light on weatherproofing overall. A couple of gaskets and seals on the free hub and the axle caps, but nothing major. And as mentioned, these are my daily drivers. I've ridden these in all weathers, all seasons.
From recollection, I did put some grease here behind the axle caps, which definitely would have helped on this front. I don't think there was any here from the factory, if I recall. So if you do get these, yeah, definitely stick a bit of grease here, and that's good practice for any wheel set, to be honest. Now quickly, the axles, absolutely perfect. No sign of galvanic corrosion between the aluminium and the steel bearing races. Yeah, these are very nicely made. Now, not quite up to the absolute perfection of the axles used on the 9 Velo wheel set that I previously reviewed, but clearly it's not been an issue. These look brand new as far as I'm concerned.
So in terms of overall construction and build quality, yeah, these wheels are cracking. Now, having said that, one minor gripe that I had with this wheel set, the flange behind the free hub where the spokes attach, it's quite big and quite wide, and as a result, some 12-speed cassettes did interfere with it.
The way some of them are constructed, the largest sprocket can hang off the back of the cassette slightly, which can then foul up against this part of the hub and kind of interfere. The solution was a couple of shim washers. Less than 1mm was enough to get clearance, and I got a set of 10 for like £4 on eBay, and I'll put a link in the description in case you're interested. Now, it's not been a problem with any of the 11-speed cassettes that I've tried, but yes, some 12-speed cassettes did have this issue. Now, checking the website, it looks like they may have fixed this issue now, actually. So there's a chamfer here on the hubs, which wasn't present on my early set. But if not, it's a super easy fix.
So why do I like these so much? Well, I think, like, technically, these 9 Velo wheels are probably a bit better, to be honest. The spoke tension is a bit more consistent, and those axles are probably a bit better on paper with slightly finer tolerances, but they are a bit heavier.
1,338 grams for a 35mm deep wheel compared to 1,313 grams here for a deeper 50mm rim. So 50mm is also my favorite all-round wheel depth, and kind of most importantly for me, these Drive 50D wheels, they're just lovely to ride. They're really, really stiff thanks to those carbon spokes and the nice deep rim, so great in the sprints when you're getting the power down. But because they're so light, you're not penalised as much on the climbs for kind of choosing to run a deeper rim. Plus, they're easy to service and they look absolutely wicked as well. I've used them on about 3 or 4 different frames at this point, and they always complement the overall look of the bike.
I just really like them. They've been an absolute workhorse for me over the last 2 years, and those that watch regularly will know just how much use I've gotten out of them, and all things considered, I think they've fared incredibly well. 1 or 2 of the bearings need replacing, but these are consumable parts on a wheel set, and they're super easy to service, so you could do it yourself, or a local bike shop could get this done, no problem. Now, I can get you a 15% discount on these if you fancy checking them out. They come with a 3-year warranty and a couple of other benefits, like Elitewheels have recently spun up some global service centers actually, so if you've got any aftercare needs or whatever, they can hook you up. So yeah, I'll put all the details down there in the description for you. Yeah, subscribe if you like this kind of thing. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions or comments for me, make sure it's prefaced with a baguette emoji or I will ignore it entirely. You have been warned. Right, anyway, I'm probably gonna have to shave off the other half of this because my wife's parents are shortly arriving and I don't really know how I would easily explain this situation to them. So, right, I'm gonna go and sort that out. See you next time. Ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
Okay, so moustache is, the mustachio is gone. And I think it does make me look about 5 years younger. But anyway, Elitewheels now sponsor GCN, which is bonkers, really. Kind of a sign of the times in many ways. These Chinese companies are gaining quite a lot of respect in Western markets, which they rightly should, in my opinion. Elitewheels do make some wicked kit. But yeah, they're in a bit of a dispute at the moment regarding the design of one of their hubs. It's nothing to do with the Drive 50D wheels that I showed you in this episode. They use a very standard ratchet and pawl mechanism, but on their very latest set of wheels, they're using, well, they call it their helical dual ratchet system for their freehub. It appears to look and function in a very similar way to a freehub designed by a company called Cuvist. Now, they patented that design a little while back in a number of different regions, including China. But it's worth stating, at the time of recording this, all of those patents are still pending. None of them have actually been granted, which means they're not enforceable by law. From my understanding, if Cuvist wish to pursue any legal action against Elitewheels or whomever designed their hubs, then they need to have those patents granted, at which point they can retroactively seek damages if they wish. Or at least that's what I understand patent pending to mean. But the twist in this story is that Elitewheels are apparently licensing another patent which was filed in China back in 2022 by someone completely different. It just so happens that design that they've licensed does look and function in a very similar way to that Cuvist freehub. Apparently, this Chinese patent is also pending at the moment. But what I did see when looking into this is the Cuvist patent here, and you can see their design there. This is the Elitewheels hub in question, and it's got this helical piece here hence the name. That particular part, well, I had a look, it doesn't appear to be present on the Cuvist patent. So whether that's enough to separate the two, I have absolutely no idea. But if that is the case, maybe Elite Wheels are going to be in the clear. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, because the patent kind of game is so interesting to me, because it really does play a big part in how these Chinese companies can bring stuff to market with the sea of patents they have to navigate through. So I'll be keeping an eye on it. But yeah, there we go. Hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you next time.